So tell me what makes, we were hanging out at your booth and you were talking about what makes Twistage different. So what do you see out there in the video platform market, and where's your opportunity that you're focused on?
Sure. I think that the word platform at this point in our space is probably an unfortunate term. I think, if we look broadly across...
Well, what's a more fortunate term?
I don't know. I'm going to have to probably mine a different language. The reason I think it's an unfortunate term is I think that most of what's getting offered in the marketplace are applications, and they're sort of these vertically integrated applications. But say I do this with my hands, that's also the shape of a silo, but in 3D, so it would be more like that, silo. And so I think what we're generally looking at sort of broadly across the market is you get sort of this black box, everything works in the black box, and you get what you get. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think there's actually as we can tell based on who's presenting here and has booth here, huge growth market for that. But we do something different, and the thing that we do is different is we sort of, I'm gonna mix metaphors and end up using these very trite terminology, but it's sort of we unbox this, or it's out of the box. And so really the value proposition for Twistage is we look at ourselves as a glue company. Companies will come to us, and many of them are already sort of video savvy. We have a player. We have a talented Flash development team. We've built a player. We don't want to throw that away. We figured out encoding. We figured out delivery. We don't know what we're going to do about asset management yet, and we don't know what we're going to do about monetization. And we can kind of take what they have, fill in the gaps for the things they don't, and also connect all these things together. So even theoretically, if they figured out all the distinct and discrete components, they might not have any sort of workflow. So, we ingest the thing, then we have some dude over here who encodes the content, then we have, Jimmy who uploads the encoded version, and then the ad ops guy. So what we can do is automate all these processes for businesses. And really the magic is when they already have some workflow that they like, or a workflow that they hate. Because the workflow they hate, we can fix it. If it's a workflow they like, they can preserve it. And when we can become really part of the DNA of somebody else's thing. I can't remember the company that does it, which means it's probably not a very effective ad campaign. It's like, we don't make the plastic, we make the plastic better.
It's
ASDF.
ASDF? No, I think it's BSF. Is that it?
Chris, audience.
One of those.
We all know what you're talking about.
So, and sort of to explain this, the easiest thing, we work with a company called Jive Software. And so Jive is a social media framework and platform for businesses primarily. So they sell to 15% of the Fortune 500. They have over 2,500 customers. And it is blogs, wikis, tweeting, and all this kind of stuff for large organizations. They wanted to add video. So they now have something called the Jive video module. Looks like Jive, feels like Jive.
Smells like Jive.
Yeah, from a user experience perspective, nothing's changed. Now there's a video module, there's a piece. And then on the back end, things like user authentication and security all works the same way that Jive works. Well, that module is built on Twistage, and it was built very, very quickly and easily. That is really what we do well. And that's what we do that's differentiable.
So in that scenario, you're actually providing all the pieces within the video area, right? Yeah,
and in that particular case, I think just about all of them. Although, they have some customers who want to use their own storage, or who might need to have an ingest server or a transcode server in their own data center for some reason, and we can do that kind of stuff too. So it's obviously SaaS focused, but it's not uniquely tied to being a SaaS application.
And it's totally white label, so nobody would even know that Twistage is behind it, right?
Yeah, I actually just had a guy come to our booth. He's like, "You guys do the Jive? I use Jive. I didn't know that was you." Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's great marketing. We do Perez Hilton. Somebody contacted me. I spent a month trying to figure out who's doing the video. Could have used Google. Yeah. Just Google Perez Hilton online video provider. But it's completely white label. And so none of the players really look the same because we're player agnostic, so it's in many cases not even our player. There's nothing about any of these sites or experiences that's a giveaway that is Twistage. So it makes the marketing effort a little harder, which is why we have that guy over there who's behind the camera.
Who's doing all the marketing?
Yeah, not that guy who's really behind the camera, because that would be a little bit compromising in terms of journalistic integrity. I wouldn't ask you to do that.
So in that example, you're providing a lot of the pieces. So
sure.
in pretty much all the examples, it's white label, you're the unknown provider.
Sure.
But sometimes somebody can say, we already have this piece of the puzzle solved, so we only need this one piece from you, and you guys say, great, we'll work with you like that. Or they may say, we need 3 of the 15 pieces, or 5
Correct.
or 10.
We work with a player company. Like, that's their business, is players. And when I told that to somebody, they said, but I don't understand, you're a player company. I said, well, no, we're not a player company. We're really a workflow company. And so, this other company, they have the player. They have delivery. And they have a bunch of the other things figured out because they're a video business. They use us primarily for automation and content ingest and asset management, grouping, tagging and grouping assets.
Okay.
So I think that's neat. And then the other thing is, now that we have that integration, we actually have taken them to some of our customers and said, look, this is a better player than the one we offer out of the box for your specific use case. You should go ahead and use it. It's pre-integrated and it's kind of turnkey now. So the nice thing about this is we're really building sort of an ecosystem accidentally.
One of the things I wanted to talk about was your roots, and you wouldn't know it by looking at him, but this is one scrappy dude. And so can you tell us about kind of the early scrappy days? And
Sure. I was scrappier before I had a kid, and I put on all this weight. Yeah, so we go back quite some time, as far back as March 2004 is when I decided I'm going to do this, and wrote a business plan and conned a friend of mine from college into quitting his job, who conned a coworker of his into quitting his job. I said, oh, we're going to go out, I'm going to raise money, we're going to get working. At the time I was actually writing code as well. So I wrote our Windows Media encoder. Anything that we needed to do, I was going to get done.
So just quickly, between the three of you, what was the division of labor? Who was doing what?
They were primarily technical.
Okay.
But since I had done Twistage is really, it's enterprise software. We happened to do video. They both came from a company called Marimba, which did primarily software updating in the enterprise. What are they doing? Pushing lots of bits over pipe. And so, what's online video? Pushing lots of bits over pipe. The initial thing we were doing was focused much more on distributed encoding and delivery. And I shopped that to VCs, one of whom told me online video was dead. So, what can I do? I didn't get very far. But the primary issue we're running into is because there was this sort of perception that online video, even if it wasn't dead, it kind of stalled. What's the market for what we had built as a B2B application or a B2B platform for video encoding and delivery? And so we built a site on top of it called Vlogville, and predates YouTube.
As almost an example, case study of what one could do if they bought your platform.
At least we were able to throw this together with Drupal really quickly, and the integration for allowing user-generated uploading, delivery over our grid delivery system, which we've since thrown away because the price of bandwidth went way down. Distributed encoding, all this other stuff, and one of the guys who ended up putting money into the company is Jerry Colonna, who founded Flatiron Partners. And I met with Jerry, and he said, I think that has a really high ceiling, maybe a higher ceiling than the B2B business. You should shop that not as a prototype or a proof of concept, but as a business. And I got rejected by everybody. I remember I met with the VC, and they said, you really need to go to an angel group. And they gave me the name of an angel group. I said, oh, no, they already rejected me. When I called to ask them why they'd rejected me, they said, well, looking at your pitch, it doesn't seem like you're going to be cash flow positive in 2 years. Is that something you think you can do? I said, I'm inventing a market. If I'm cash flow positive in 2 years, I've done something wrong. And I said, well, that's not the kind of business we're interested in. So I did this for 2.5 years. I got married during this time. I had to borrow money from my kid sister to get an engagement ring. When I finally started getting a paycheck, a good chunk of that paycheck went to pay off wedding expenses.
So when did you start selling? Like, when was the first sale of anything?
I just actually, one of my partners came to my wedding, which was 11/11/2006. He was the last person to leave the bachelor party. I left at 4. He was out until 8:30 in the morning, and he had pulled an all-nighter because he'd taken the red eye from San Francisco the night before. He slept for 4 hours, and then he went on site with a client and did the first Twistage integration, and then and then later that night went to my wedding. So
your first sale was on your wedding day.
It's my first. Well, yeah, we'd closed the deal, like a week prior, and at that time we were, like, hey, we'll do the integration just to get you up and running. So he did it, and it was my wedding day. I never even thought about that until now.
Wow.
We closed a couple of other ones, and I think we always think of sort of the world changed for us on January 1, 2007. That's when we were really kind of going to go out there and proactively receive customers, because this is the first real outbound marketing effort we've done is here at Streaming Media.
Well, yeah, it's a big. I mean, you're the platinum sponsor.
We're a platinum sponsor.
Okay.
We have the big booth right when you walk in. And for a company that has basically been in stealth mode for 4.5 years, it's a little bit of a culture shift for us. But, looking at the amount of money that's been invested in this space, it's pretty significant. And the amount of time it took me to raise the money that I raised, I basically made a decision that we're not going to be able to compete with people on marketing spend and on sales spend. So where we're going to win is by building a different product and an excellent product. Forget the word better. We are not the same. We're not offering the same thing. Can we do a lot of those things? Do people come to us and say, hey, I need a player, I need some delivery, I need some encoding, I just want to do that and get it going? Absolutely. It's not the real value piece of what we do. So this is a shift back a little bit in the other direction, go out and proactively let people know who we are.
And you haven't raised a lot of money intentionally.
Yep. Intentionally.
Okay.
I have.
So basically, the tides turn where people actually were interested in investing.
Correct. I've had the initial problem I had with VCs was that I couldn't convince them that there was going to be this big market for online video, and that I was a person who was going to be able to deliver a product that would serve that market. Now I've done that. There's been execution. We have significant customer base. Now the problem is that they want to put more money to work than we want, and so maybe next company. But strategically, we have an operating strategy, and part of that operating strategy is to be incredibly capital efficient, where we take risks is on the technology side, not on the sales and marketing side. And so far, this has worked out. This is not a risk for us at this point. This show is not a risk. This is timely and appropriate for us.
Got it. Now you have a special treat for our viewing audience. I think you're gonna do the hammer dance, right? A little hammer time.
I am. I guess I am.
All right.
I wasn't aware that I was going to.
You all ready for the hammer dance?
I have to take this off, right?
You do.
Okay. Now I want to make one caveat here. I am not wearing my baggy pants. Those are back at the Ramada.
The like zoot pants or whatever.
Yeah. But let's see what I wanted everyone to realize is that every time you see me, the hammer is so hype. I'm dope on the floor, and I'm magic on the mic. And I have this philosophical question, which is, why would I ever stop doing this with others making records that just don't hit? And here we go. That's it. It really, without the baggy pants, doesn't do anything. So thank you. And now that I've lost all of you as potential customers because you think I'm ridiculous,
Ladies and gentlemen, Twistage.